morning.
There we go.
Grant, we're on the air. Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to regular board meeting of Third Laguna Hills Mutual Board. This is Tuesday, July 21st, 2020, 9:30 a.m., and we're doing the meeting virtually. I'd like to call the meeting to order and establish a quorum. We do have a quorum, and at this time, I'd like to lead everybody in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would stand, please, and we have a flag that you can see. So please join me in the flag, Pledge Allegiance flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If you would, silence your cell phones or other electronic devices, please. And is there media present here? Okay. Don't see anyone at this time. Approval of the minutes for June 16th, 2020. Do I hear approval of the minutes?
I move that we make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. Thank you, Annie. And Lynn, you second? Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Any discussion? Okay. By unanimous consent, we'll go ahead and approve this unless there's any objection. Hearing none. Okay, we'll go on to open forum. Let's go to that. Do we have anybody that'd like to talk? Becky?
We have 8 member comments today.
Okay.
President Parsons and esteemed members of the board. Our first comment is from Nina Pavola, manor number 2378B. Her comment is as reads is, Dear President Parsons and members of the Third Laguna Hills Mutual Board of Directors, I am a homeowner in the village and my parents are residents. I am writing to you today to request that fumigation for building 2378 planned on 8/11 be postponed until after Orange County is no longer on the state's monitoring list for rising COVID-19 infections. On July 1st, the Maintenance and Construction Department sent us a letter advising us that the fumigation originally scheduled for 7/21 at Building 2378 has been postponed. I believe this was in response to the residents of the building making the request due to concerns of the health and safety of residents should they have to be removed from their homes during this time of increased infection in the village and in the county. 9 days later, on July 10th, we received a letter for a new fumigation date of August 11th. During the 9 days that lapsed between the 2 letters we received from the Maintenance Department, according to Orange County Healthcare Agency, Orange County COVID dashboards, new infections increased in our community by 13%, and today's numbers indicate that new infections have increased by 33% since July 1st. COVID-19 infections are nowhere near contained in our area for us to feel safe leaving our homes and staying for a prolonged period of time in unknown buildings such as hotels and be surrounded by unfamiliar people such as hotel and restaurant workers and patrons should we be asked to evacuate our homes. Also, under the Orange County Healthcare Agency's amended orders and strong recommendations of the County of Orange Health Officer revised last week on July 14th, vulnerable populations, including all Orange County residents who are 65 and over, should remain at home consistent with guidelines provided by the department My parents are 75 and 80 years old, fall under this vulnerable population that is considered high risk for contracting COVID-19 and not recovering from the infection. Out of abundance of caution, ensuring the village residents' health and safety, please consider postponing the August 11th fumigation for Building 2378 until after Orange County is no longer in the state's monitoring list for rising COVID-19 infections. Thank you.
Okay. Can we have the next one, please?
Richard Rena, 2378C as in cat. Comments. Dear board members, my 4-unit building with townhouse Seville models has a scheduled fumigation on August 11th with the upsurge of COVID-19. I'm concerned about the residents having to leave our manors to stay at a hotel and dine out for 3 days. I understand there are budgets and maintenance obligations. Kindly contemplate postpone fumigation until pandemic is under control. Safety and residents in imperative is choice here in Laguna Woods. I appreciate your time considering our health concerns. Thank you, Richard Rena. Next comment, Alex Payne, 2378A. Dear board members, my name is Alex Payne. My parents, Ty and Sharon, are residents of 2378B. I'm also the owner of Adjourning Manor 2378A, which is currently tenant occupied. I'm writing to express dire concerns over the planned fumigation of 2378. Fumigation is scheduled for August 11th and will require residents to vacate their homes for 2 days and temporarily relocate to a nearby hotel. This is extremely worrying in light of the current COVID-19 surge. My father, Ty, has a pre-existing heart condition, and for him, contracting COVID-19 is potentially fatal. His cardiologist ordered that he exercise utmost caution and avoid potential exposure during the pandemic. He has abided by the orders, stayed home, and received in no-person grandchildren visits since March. Termite abatement, while important, is not urgent. The problem with fumigation is twofold. It displaces the residents from and allows breaching to carefully maintain safe environment. Given the elevated health concerns, please defer fumigation at 2378. Thank you. Next comment, Betty Claude, 34203E. And I have to open a document. Excuse me, please. I apologize. Give me just a minute.
Sure.
I retired as a real estate professional in 2013. Most of my 35 years in this profession was spent in the community. I continue to interact with currently active realtors as to mentor whenever possible. It appears that realtors are currently experiencing difficulties in their duties, especially when interacting with staff during escrow. Example, there was a shutdown in the community center for deep clean due to COVID-19. During the shutdown, none of the VMS staff who had appointments with realtors or residents showed up as scheduled, nor was there any attempt by staff to contact persons waiting at properties. Is there no system in place for staff to reach out for mass events? Staff has pertinent information for all parties once a property is listed and VMS notified of the listing and or escrow is open. Perhaps this should be directed to GRF since it applies to both Third and United, but I heard of it in relation to third properties in particular. Second, until this past year or so, it was not the case that VMS entered a resale property for inspection. The inspection was exterior only, unless buyer or seller had of the ordinary concerns that were require VMS to inspect. The low flow toilets came in being, and now there is a document that the subject is on the Third website. Then the water heaters became an item that mandated inspection during resale, but there is no document to be found on the website. Only a footnote at the bottom of the inspection page of the escrow package. Question, why is there no one document that would clearly spell out the Third Laguna Hills Mutual resale inspection policies? Thank you for your attention, Betty Claude. Okay. Next member comment, Tracy Rich, 5252. Dear members of the 3rd Laguna Board of Directors, I reside in Gate 11 of Laguna Woods Village, and I'm writing to express my outrage regarding the new emergency COVID-19 rules that went into effect yesterday. The crisis created by this pandemic was wreaked havoc on the lives of everyone. They are all attempting to cope with this crisis in a manner that keeps us reasonably safe, but some of us do not want to totally give up having a social life while going through this. Therefore, we are attempting to engage in activities that are fun but low risk. Your new draconian rulers make this impossible. Many of us moved to Laguna Woods to find fun and fulfillment and to stay active and socially connected during the retirement. For me, music and dancing are a huge element that makes this possible. During the pandemic, selfless musicians have given their time and energy to play music on a daily basis at Aliso Creek. For many people, this is their only escape from being alone and miserable in their homes, giving rise to unhappiness and depression. The activity takes place entirely outdoors, increasing the safety factor exponentially. Your over-the-top rules now make the crucial outlet a crime punishable by fine. Additionally, many of you who need social contact to keep ourselves sane get together outdoors in small groups, maintaining distance of at least 6 feet. Additionally, the requirement that we wear face masks force us to take these activities to private and possible indoor settings in order to avoid the discomfort and claustrophobia that requirement causes, greatly increasing our health risk. What is particularly outrageous is that we live in a state where our governor is extremely cautious with respect to the coronavirus and has adopted rules that we are all obliged to follow. There is absolutely no reason for the board to go above and beyond these rules and thereby making our lives way more unpleasant. I am further outraged by the fact that the new rules were adopted without any effort by security to enforce the prior rules. If the board was dissatisfied with our compliance with the former reasonable rules, security should have engaged in enforcement efforts at that point, which would have eliminated the need for the ridiculous emergency rules currently in effect. On top of everything else, the new rules were adopted without giving residents notice or an opportunity to be heard, a clear violation of our right due process of law. If these rules are not changed immediately, I will vote against each and every one of you who voted in favor of these rules when you come up for re-election and make it a personal campaign to defeat you. I have loved Laguna Woods since I moved here, and you have destroyed a lot of my good feelings about the village. Thank you for your consideration and views. Very truly yours, Tracy Rich. Next member comment is Monica Hobson, 3300B. I was informed too late that I should discuss this issue at the meeting and hope this can be published or discussed. The information recently provided to us at 3300 was without any consideration, especially since we recently received notification that the PAIN program has been suspended until 2021 and that we can put all our personal items back in the meantime. I am also offended by the tone of the notice since VMS employees are employed to serve the residents. I could not locate any information that this change was discussed in an architectural board meeting, which concerns me that these decisions have been made without board knowledge or authorization. It is not an issue regarding the paint because we are all anxious in getting it done. It is the tone in the notice that was inappropriate, and the notices are being distributed without board knowledge and prior review is great concern to me. I had paid someone to remove items from the balcony and front entrance, paid someone again to remove them back, and now the notice indicated that the mutual nor the management agent cannot be held responsible for the loss of damage of personal items. I understand the difficulty under the current COVID restrictions. However, employees are working for a senior community, and as such, consideration should be considered or assistance should be offered. Monica Hobson. Karen Shore, resident 40123G. Due to COVID-19, the Governor of California signed a state of emergency proclamation activating the Office of Emergency Services to guide state and local actions to preserve public health for all residents. These comments are respectfully directed to the Board of Third Laguna Hills regarding the joint resolution, emergency rules, and emergency fines and collection policy. Covered, or they may not understand they probably are medically exempt. Prior to this resolution, I understand this board previously assigned implementation of local COVID-19 orders to VMS, which was well received without input from the community regarding the new resolution. I believe this board overstepped the bounds of their responsibilities as there is new emergency beyond the state's emergency proclamation. At this time, I request this board to consider a revision of item 1, limiting it to the compliance with the state guidance for use of face coverings while outdoors and omit associated penalties for residents. I believe many residents will continue to wear face coverings even while this revision, and it will hopefully reduce the divisiveness this resolution has created among neighbors. In closing, please hear the comment published from the California Department of Public that in contrast to indoor spaces, wind and the viral dilution of outdoor spaces can help reduce viral load. Now that you each know this, please do what is right and help to preserve the health and enjoyment of the residents in Laguna Woods. Can you all still hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, one more comment. And it's Bill Walsh, 3162C, and I'm opening a document. Should we be concerned by the number of liens being placed in the manners in the current agenda? Is this a trend with failing economy? I didn't see any agenda items for status and or discussion of the third mutual streetlight project. Here are some questions. 1, has the LED retrofit of the 788 streetlights been completed? 2, is Siemens currently working on the post-installation activities by A, providing final project reporting to the third mutual per California Energy Commission and other financing requirements. B, providing administrative efforts required to process and receive all available rebates and incentives from SCE or any local or state government incentives. C, administering all efforts required to process and ensure the tariffs change to LS2 and amend any bill records if needed, and the coordination of all SCE activities to authorize the tariff change. Did the reduced LS2 tariff change charges begin when Third purchased the streetlights from SCE or once all 788 streetlights were converted to LED light fixtures? D, providing all electronic post-construction database of GIS records for all 788 LED retrofitted streetlights, as well as system information, data, and statistics, including the identification, location of problem trees with canopies that are obscuring the new LED light fixtures. E, providing all administrative services for warranty, enforcement for all LED fixtures, including photo cells, on behalf of the Third Mutual. Number 3, is the complete LED retrofit project documentation, both from Siemens and VMS, going to be put on the Laguna Woods Village website? When, if not, where and when? Number 4, I hope you are all aware that SCE is asking the CPUC for a tariff increase on the streetlights as part of their current request for a 14% residential rate increase. The good news is that California Public Advocacy Office advises that the CPUC hearing officers that SCE's request is excessive by half. Bill Wash 3162C. And that is all.
Thank you, Becky. Appreciate that.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, we have a number of people that would like to talk about fumigation, and I think we probably should discuss that. With the board's consent, I would like to interject this as item 12C under new business. Is there any objection to that for an open discussion? Okay. Hearing none, we'll make that item 12C on fumigation. Okay, on to Betty's comments on escrow problems. Siobhan, would you like to address that, please?
Yes, thank you. Just want to pull out my notes. So the concerns that were brought up by Ms. Claude concerning not following through on critical appointments. As you'll recall, the community center was closed in an emergency situation, and unfortunately staff was not as prepared as they should have been, as this closure was for a COVID-related situation and extended beyond the one day that staff originally thought that the closure would occur for. Since then, we are now better prepared if that situation should arise again. And then in terms of interior inspections that are now required, staff is following the resolutions passed by the board, which mandate that certain critical procedures be completed to better protect the members as a whole. And then lastly, the documents supporting the resale process, inclusive of inspections, are available on the Laguna Woods Village website. So we will make sure to follow up with the resident so she knows where to find that information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We've had a few comments here on the pandemic situation. That's Jeff, if you'd like to chime in, and also Robert or Annie.
If I may, Steve, good morning to the board. I do have some information, just updated information on COVID-19 as a whole, and then I'll turn it back over to the members. We are currently at 34 cases in the community of Laguna Woods, not just the village, but in the city of Laguna Woods. That has held steady for the last couple of days, but we had seen an increase over the last, a spike over the last week and a half. The hospitalization numbers are at 666 in Orange County. Of that 666, 213 are in the ICU. With that 213 people in the ICU, the capacity of ICUs in Orange County is at 41%. The good news, I guess, is that the ventilation information that they have ventilators at a rate of 61% that are available at this point in time. The Numbers are still up, though. The testing threshold over the last 3 days, with a 3-day lag, is at 13.2% positive test rate. The state wants to see, obviously, below 8% on that testing positive rate. So we're still exceeding that by over 5%. The hospitalization recently, last couple of days, has gone down. So that is a good news in the sense that with less hospitalization, you tend to have less ICU cases. So that is down about 4%, and yesterday it was down by 1%. So on a daily basis, it's dropping. Unfortunately, there was another death in the community, not in our community, but in the community of Orange County. So that's taking that number up again. I think with regards to COVID, the other is the threshold, again, trying to be at a low number, but we're at 192 cases per 100,000, which is still way above the threshold that the state wants to see with regards to getting the curve flattened out. And I'll turn it back over to you on that issue.
Okay, Annie, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to address Ms. Tracy Rich regarding the resolution. The board met, 30 United and GRF met tirelessly trying to come up with a resolution to keep our residents safe. And I just want to say something personal to Ms. Tracy. I've been a nurse for over 50 years, and I worked in a hospital in infectious disease. And we worked together with people that agreed with us and disagreed with us on what to do to save lives. And in terms of your promise to work tirelessly to get us not elected, against us getting reelected, I just want to say to you, I would happily give up my position on this board if it meant that my actions saved some lives. Thank you.
Robert, would you like to say anything?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. This is addressed to both Ms. Tracy Rich and to Karen regarding the face mask rule and the policy about gatherings. As Annie McCary, the first Vice President, has said, we are very interested in the health and well-being of the people in the community. Are we happy about having to wear masks? No. Are we happy about not having large gatherings? Certainly not. But we have a very vulnerable population here in the village. The average age is 77. And we grant you that some of the state guidelines are not as strict as what we are suggesting. However, the CDC guidelines specific to retirement communities place a lot more restrictions on the kinds of things that take place. And I ask you to take a look at the website for the CDC and look specifically at the guidelines for retirement communities, and I think you might have a slightly different perception of what kinds of rules and regulations are really necessary in the kind of community that we have. If we're erring on the side of trying to protect the health and well-being of the people. I grant you that it's difficult to stay indoors. I grant you it's difficult not to gather. But we hope that we're doing something to keep the number of cases in the village down. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments on the pandemic? Okay. To Monica Hobson about the PAINT program and notification to people. Jeff or Siobhan, would you like to speak on that topic, please?
Yes, President Parsons, this is Siobhan. Our staff spoke with Ms. Hobson either late yesterday afternoon or this morning and was able to resolve her concerns. So we appreciate her bringing these forward. Okay.
On to Mr. Walsh's comment on the street lights. I know there's several things that he would like to find out about because he was one of the leaders in this project when he was on our board. Jeff, would you like to talk about this and any information you have from Ernesto?
Actually, Steve, I can take this one. I was just in contact with Ernesto. The streetlight conversion project has been completed, as everyone is aware. Staff is currently working on the punch list, the last remaining items. GIS maps were made available to staff for the project. And if Mr. Walsh would like to see anything specific on the website, we encourage him to submit the list of items to Ernesto, and we will see that they are added to the website. Thank you.
Okay, appreciate that.
Steve, I'd like
Okay,
to
you-
also address that.
Go ahead.
Becky, this is Rob Muchnick, Chair of the M&C Committee. If you would forward to me the information that Mr. Walsh submitted, because it was difficult for me to get down all the different items that he had listed in his request. If you would forward them to me, I will take them and discuss them with Ernesto. Thank you.
Thank you. I will.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all, I think, addressing this. Later on, we'll pick up the topic of fumigation on item 12C. Let's move ahead to the CEO, COO report, please.
Good morning, board members, and to President Parsons. I have 4 things that I wanted to give you quick updates on. Recently, as you know, you've received and we have received some emails and calls with regards to the impact of COVID-19, and that is on the lack of circulation of coins, and in particular quarters relative to the laundry facilities and individuals saying they're having difficulty getting quarters. Staff has been working on a couple of projects and concepts with regards to the potential purchasing of some change machines that would avail us to provide additional assistance to our residents to get quarters through change machines. So we're finalizing that information so that we could get something like that ordered to address that issue. And that will just, in a sense, help a little bit. That won't solve the whole problem. We also have been in communication with our bank, Bank of America. As you know, several people have gone to different banks and had no success. So we're working with, at least having a discussion with Bank of America. Since we collect coins from the machine, how could we work with them to better facilitate getting quarters available to our residents in their need that they have right now. So hopefully I'll be able to give you a little bit more update this afternoon on that. So we can move forward with at least trying to help as much as we can in this coin shortage. The banks have indicated that this is an issue nationwide, and so we're trying to address it from just our little perspective here at home. The second thing I wanted to mention was that Gate 11 project is now complete. That project was scheduled to be completed in August. However, because this is one of the last gates that we've been working on, our efficiency and productivity increase, that we were able to complete that project this last week. It was came under budget at about $76,150. It was budgeted at $110,000, so some savings there, but more importantly, getting it up online, getting the landscaping done and completed in a timely manner and efficient, and opening that facility up is a positive thing for us. I wanted to mention that yesterday we had the all boards meeting with regards to the budget. At that was our first meeting, version 1, which we presented an overview of the budgets with regards to all of the mutuals included in that. The overall impact, primarily due to insurance issues, which we are heavily working on, is at this point in time anticipated to be an 8% overall increase in the budget, of which 6% is insurance. So if we hadn't had the insurance impact as we're projecting right now, we would only be projecting a 2% overall increase with regards to all of the board's budgets. So we're back to the board with regards to looking at insurances. We had a presentation yesterday as part of that proposal. So we're working with obviously your board and going to be working with all of them to address this insurance issue as we move forward before we get to version 2 of the budget. For you directly, the third board, your budget meeting is scheduled for Monday, July 27th at 1:30 p.m. And we will be going in obviously in much more detail with regards to your specific budget and answering any questions that you have. And obviously we'll be working on the insurance issue with you between now and then. And that is all I had, and I'll turn it over to Siobhan because I know she has a couple things.
Thank you, Jeff. Honorable President, members of the board, just want to give you a couple brief updates, please. In terms of bulky item collection, we received word that Waste Management is resuming its bulky item trash collection on the third Saturday of each month. So the next collection date will be Saturday, August 15th. If you're interested in using this service, please notify Resident Services prior to setting out your bulky items. The item should be placed near the trash enclosure or in the same location you place your trash bins. Bulky items must be set out the night prior or no later than 7 a.m. on collection day. And as a reminder, Waste Management still is not scheduling in-home bulky item pickups due to the pandemic. Additionally, a reminder to our resident gardeners, the landscaping division picks up garden clippings on Fridays. To have your clippings picked up, please place the clippings in a pile near the curb each Friday morning by 7 a.m. and call Resident Services by 5 p.m. the prior Thursday to ensure pickup. And lastly, just a reminder, if you haven't completed your 2020 census questionnaire, the deadline has been extended due to the public health crisis, and the new deadline for completing the census is October 31st. You may complete your questionnaire online, by telephone, or by mail. To get started, visit the website my2020census.gov to begin. And that concludes my updates this morning. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, if not, we'll go on to the consent calendar. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve it. I also want to make a comment on this, is John Burleson.
Okay, is there a second?
I second it. This is Reza.
Hold on. Steve, I'm requesting that we discuss item 10C.
Okay, just a minute, and then you can talk about that. Okay, discussion. When we get to discussion on this, you can talk about that. I want to go back first to John Pearlstone for comments.
Yeah, I just wanted to make the board and any community that is watching this aware that we reviewed. We did not have a finance committee meeting this month for reasons beyond our control, at least my control. So we did have separate meetings to review the financials. That's letter A. Letter B, we reviewed each of these lien requests. They all are reasonable and customary within our guidelines. So I want everybody to know those have been looked at.
Okay. Any other comments here from Reza? If you have no comments, we'll go to Kush.
Was that we discuss item 10C, so if we could pull it off the consent calendar?
Okay, you want to amend the motion to take this off and discuss it?
I request that we make a motion that we pull item 10C from the consent calendar.
Okay, that's an amendment. Is there a second? Okay, hearing no second, the motion for the amendment fails. So we'll come back to voting on item 10. If there's no objection, we'll consider this approved as unanimous consent. Okay, item 11, please. Unfinished business. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the resolution for alternate heat source policy for alterations. Lynn, do you have anything to read on that?
Just a second, please. Well, I really don't. Maybe I should bring that forward. Hold on.
If not, I can read what came out of the alterations committee.
Yeah, go ahead, please, because I got ahead of myself.
Okay, the alterations supervisor summarized the proposed policy and answered questions for the committee. Discussion ensued regarding repair of ceiling heat system, compromised heating coils, responsibility to provide an alternate heat source, realtors using portable heaters, disconnection of thermostat, separate or common circuit breakers for each heating source, requirement for a certified electrician to disconnect the ceiling heater coils and garden villa ceiling heating systems. By consensus, the committee recommended that the board approve the proposed alternate heat source policy for alterations and the proposed resolutions. We wanted to bring it forward. I believe this would be on 28-day notification. Okay, we will do that. We need to hold this for 28 days and take public comments if anyone has anything they want to bring forward. Okay, on to new business. Landscape committee recommendation.
All right, I'll take that.
Good.
The landscape committee recommends to deny the tree removal request at 3135B via Serena North, Mr. Yang, and that's One Canary Island Pond. We realize that next year we'll fund the trimming program, and we feel that that is it. So I move that we accept this, to deny this, I should say approve the deny the tree removal request. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay. This would be to follow staff's recommendation then.
Yeah.
The committee's recommendation. Okay. We'll consider this unanimous consent unless there's an objection to this. Okay, hearing none, we'll move to 12B. Entertain a motion to designate smoke-free building policy and procedures from the Resident Policy and Compliance Committee meeting.
Okay, before I read the resolution, I want to make a few comments. This resolution has been a long time in coming. I've been working on the committee for almost 4 years. First of all, we went forward. Randy Scott, building 5372, got his whole entire building together, and we went to office, and we had meetings, and we tried to get a non-smoking policy put into place, and we did finally in 2017. We convinced the board and the community to adopt that policy, and it's a little bit better policy in the committee than the city had in place. So then in 2019 October, the compliance, the Residence Policy and Compliance Committee got together, and we wanted to have something where we could designate smoke-free buildings. And we had to create a procedure. So with the help of all the people on the committee, with the help of Sandra from legal, we were able to come up with something. And the purpose of the smoke-free building designation policy is to provide for a systematic, fair, and reasonable manner to designate building as non-smoking. It's a little bit complicated, but it's totally doable if an entire building wants to go smoke-free. That means if you are any size building, from 1 unit to 23 units. So I'm going to read the resolution because it's a very important resolution, and you'll find that in your agenda packet, item 12B, page 11. The smoke-free building designation policy and procedure. Whereas the Board of Directors of Third Laguna Hills Mutual held a meeting at which a quorum of the board is present. Whereas the members of Third Hills Mutual have an interest in their health, welfare, and safety while within Third's common interest development, including when in the separate interest dwelling units located within the development each a unit in which the members, their co-occupants, and tenants as applicable reside. And whereas certain members have requested that third board that designate the buildings in which the units are located as smoke-free to reduce those members, their co-occupants, and tenants as applicable exposure to secondhand smoke. And whereas the board has determined that in addition to addressing health concerns related to secondhand smoke raised by members as referenced above, prohibiting smoking in buildings at the development will reduce the risk of fires related to accidents stemming from the use of smoking tobacco, marijuana, and other substances, and reduce maintenance and repair costs for building components needed due to wear and tear to those components caused by smoke. And whereas the board has consulted with Third Legal Counsel on the legality of prohibiting smoking at the development, and the board has determined that upon certain conditions and requirements being met, that multi-dwelling unit buildings at the development can be permanently designated as smoke-free going forward, so long as specific terms and conditions are met. Whereas the board recognizes that members, their co-occupants, and tenants, if applicable, have a right to privacy within their respective units and a right to freely use and occupy the units in accordance with THIRD's governing documents. That members purchase their units with the understanding that smoking was not expressly prohibited in their unit, and that legal precedent does not exist as to whether the board can unilaterally prohibit smoking in units. Whereas the board has determined that it will designate a building containing units as not smoking if all of the then members who are record owners of the units in that building agree in writing before a notary public that the building should be not smoking and if certain other requirements are met. And whereas the board has tasked Third Legal Counsel with drafting documents related to implementing and managing the designation of buildings at the development as not smoking that provides for such designation in a systematic, fair, and reasonable manner. And whereas Third Legal Counsel has drafted those documents, the board has reviewed those documents, and the board believes those documents and the procedures and requirements described in those documents meet the member needs and business requirements of Third. And whereas those documents consist of the smoke-free building designation policy and procedure, and the petition for designating a building as smoke-free, and the petition agreement form, plus the agreement and covenant to run with land, which is the non-smoking building designation, collectively the designation documents, all of which are attached to this resolution and incorporated in their entirety herein by this reference. Now, be it the result July the 21st, 2020, that the board has determined that the designation documents and the procedures and requirements described thereunder shall be immediately effective upon adoption by the board to provide for a systematic, fair, and reasonable manner to designate buildings at the development as non-smoking. Resolved further that the directors, officers, and regents of Third are hereby authorized on behalf of Third to carry out the purposes of this resolution. Should the board endorse this resolution, the staff recommends that a motion be made and seconded to accept the resolution and allow discussion to ensure that the resolution leads to the satisfaction of the board. Staff then recommends that a board member postpone the resolution to the next available board meeting, no less than 28 days from the postponement, to comply with Civil Code 4360. I make a motion that we approve the resolution, the smoke-free building designation policy.
I'll second that.
Okay, Robert seconds it.
Okay, I have a question. Can we have a discussion?
Yeah, go ahead, Trish.
Do we have any building ready to be determined for the smoke-free? And I have
No,
a
not right now.
Okay, how much did this whole process cost the Third Mutual?
For the legal part of it, I believe it was given a neighborhood of $4,400. or $4,000 to $4,400. I'm not sure exactly.
Okay, good to know.
And it's a one-time fee forever.
Okay,
Legal.
good to know.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, I don't know that we actually need a vote on this. It's going on 28-day notification. Siobhan, do we need to vote on this?
No, it's going on 28-day hold, so.
Okay. Okay, thank you on that. Let's go to the add-on 12C, which is dealing with fumigation. A little background on this. I understand that many people are worrisome about being displaced because of fumigation process and where they would go, what they would do, things like that. It is a consideration. I've heard from Ernesto that he doesn't consider this to be an immediate thing. It's not something we can let go forever, and we're going to have to take up somewhere along the line. But he doesn't consider immediate at this time. I would ask for comments from Jeff and Siobhan on this topic, if you have any, please.
Yes. So as you had heard from Ernesto, with the immediacy of it not being the highest priority, if the board so choose, we would, given that concept of moving it to next year's operation, the difficulty for the staff, obviously, if we're going to move forward, is that we have a large notification time frame and a lot of notification that goes out. And so if we're going to move forward with the fumigation, you have that issue that you have to address. Then secondly, if we postpone it for a little while, thinking that the COVID-19 issue is going to maybe get a little bit better in the next month or so, what you then run into is that you get into the fumigation into October timeframe, September, October timeframes, where you get into a windier environment in the village here, and working with the contractor, that becomes problematic because we try to wrap that up before that time period. So those are the two things that I would suggest, that in consideration of looking at just postponing it until next year would be probably more advantageous from the perspective of the timing issue and the coordination issue, and not wanting to get into the weather issue of the winds. And then secondly, we certainly have, as you just heard, a number of residents who are concerned about moving out temporarily, whether it's to a hotel or wherever that may be, because of the COVID-19 situation. I know Ernesto's on the board, so he may be able to answer more specific questions.
Steve, can I make a comment on this?
Let's go to Robert first, then we'll come to you.
Okay.
Steve, I was going to make a motion that we delay fumigation for this calendar year and pick up the process next calendar year. I mean, if we are concerned about the health and well-being of our residents, as we've argued earlier in the meeting today, I think we need to take that into consideration at this point in time. And unless there's some absolute urgency that a building is in, the structural integrity of a building is in question, I think we should postpone. So I would make a motion to postpone for this calendar year of the fumigation project.
Okay, is there a second?
I second that motion.
Okay, go ahead, Reza.
Okay, my comment is that I totally understand if people don't want to go to hotels at this time because they might not be safe, and, you know, that's pretty understandable. But we have the towers that have empty spaces. Can we use those spaces? Because sometimes these things, if you wait too long, the damage might be way above what we expected. But the towers should be pretty safe because the zonal community, we have contracts with them. They have empty spaces that we can use it as housing purposes. And that's actually good overall if we can make that kind of transition and management of it, if it's possible. That's just my comment. I don't know if it's doable or not, but I'm making a comment.
Okay, let's go to Ernesto and then back to Robert. Ernesto, we can't hear you. Can't hear you at all. Okay.
I'm going to call it on his phone.
Cheryl, can you activate caller 1? Okay, go ahead. Ernesto, go ahead. Talk into your phone. Ernesto, please talk into your phone. Okay, can't hear you.
I think caller 1 is me because I'm online and on telephone. I couldn't get audio connection today.
Oh, okay. Can somebody call Ernesto and get his comments for us, please? Let's go on to Robert.
To respond to Reza. Reza, the Towers has 5 units that are furnished. That's all they have. And they're already in demand from United has been discussing with them as well. So it's not like the number of furnished units in the Towers would be sufficient for us. I mean, it wouldn't even be sufficient for the building of the 4 people who called in this morning. So it's not going to be real workable.
Okay. Do we have a link to Ernesto yet? Or do we have his comments? Okay, Ernesto, we still can't hear you. Jeff or Siobhan, could you call him and get his comments for us, please? Or just relay?
Can you hear me now?
Now, go ahead.
All right. Sorry about that. So I just wanted to comment a little bit about the program itself. This is one of the most labor-intensive programs that you have for which we use outside services. It involves quite a bit of staffing time. As you know, the program is very we have to provide, we're legally required to provide information to the residents way ahead of time on this program. The law actually requires 15 days, but as you know, the mutual has made a decision to provide 30-day notification to the residents for this program. We are, as you know, we're required by law to protect our buildings. And as such, the board schedules this program. We provide 3 weeks before. So the first notice goes out 30 days before the program. Then 3 weeks before the fumigation, we start calling residents to arrange for keys and landscaping, which is a whole. I could talk about that just by itself for a few minutes. Then 2 weeks before the fumigation occurs, the fumigation company actually meets with residents in person, and it goes over all the chemicals that are used, the belongings, how to bag things, etc. The mutual does provide reservations at a hotel, and they're not required to do that, but the mutual does do that. And we assist the residents any way we can to get this done. So relative to the question or the comment that was made by Reza, I just wanted to mention that because of the notifications that are required for this program, there's no way at this point, at this time, that we can re-notify the residents, even if we were to move them into the towers. We will have to completely postpone the program, as your CEO suggested. At this point, re-notifying and going through the process again would put us into the November-December timeframe, and we cannot fumigate during those times because of the wind. So the most sensible thing for the board to do at this point, if they do want to cancel the program, is to just cancel it completely for the year and begin the work next year. There is no immediate need for the fumigation. This colonies of termites, these critters move very slowly. They eat away, but they move slowly. So we don't have any buildings that are currently an impending collapse or structural damage to such extent that we need to address them immediately. So this can be delayed. The delay of 1 year is not going to cause additional significant damage. Obviously, it's something we want to address at some point, but it can be postponed without a significant consequence at this point.
Okay, any other comments from anyone? Doug? Doug Gibson?
My only question is, if we postpone it and everything else, is that going to cause any major backlog or follow other things that are scheduled for next year to be follow even further backlogged? Just is that going to compound it?
Go ahead, Ernesto.
Yes, Mr. President, they will compound a little bit of the work. It will require that we do a little bit more work next year, and we're already gearing up for that. So at this point, we don't have exactly what that impact will be for us next year. But yes, Doug is correct. They will compound the problem in that we will have to do a little bit more work next year.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, Cheryl, could you please read back the motion? I can't hear you. Okay.
President Parsons.
Summarize. Yeah.
This is Grant. I can read back the motion.
Okay, thank you.
Director Muchnick, I made a motion to postpone fumigation for this calendar year, and it was seconded by Director McCary.
Okay.
Steve, I have a question.
Go ahead, Kush.
Are we going to postpone just this building or the entire fumigation program?
The entire program.
Okay, that's good. Good to know what we're doing.
Okay.
Could you make that mention in the motion, Grant?
Yeah, it's there. Okay. Unless there's any further comments or objections, we'll consider this unanimous consent. I don't see anybody objecting or anybody with any more questions. So, Ernesto, go ahead and make your plans accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, moving on to committee reports. Report of the Finance Committee, Director Pearlstone.
Thank you, President Parsons. I'm going to start my report by deferring my time to Doug Gibson, who has asked to make some comments regarding finance. So, Doug, go ahead.
Thanks, John. My first time through this budget process, and certainly yesterday was an eye-opening experience. I have concerns about the income that we are dealing with for this year because everything is such an extraordinary upside-down situation, which we're all aware of. And I think that some of the income that is anticipated maybe is not going to be there just because of all the things that have had to be done. That's my major thought on it, one way or the other. And then as we review all the different things, and the insurance is certainly important, I'd hate to think that if we have to go ahead with a very high insurance rate, that we're going to maybe lose some emphasis on areas that are important to us individually and as a group. And I come back to the landscaping. Landscaping needs some improvement and needs some support. And if we don't adjust to those types of needs in specific areas, then we're going to kind of backtrack. And I really think that what the Jeff and the crowd has done there has been very, very good for the year, but I don't know that we're dealing with actual figures because the figures seem to me only accurate up through May and not even the June figures. So I'm just a little bit concerned in that area, and I offer it as concern and observations only.
Okay, thank you, Doug. To respond to that as we get started, I mean, I think it's a concern for all of us, without a doubt. we have a budget meeting where we'll go over the details. I believe it's next week. There's a lot of back and forth dialogue that'll continue on that, but I'm glad you said what you said. I've been saying each and every month that we had a challenging year ahead of us well before COVID ever hit because of some, issues that needed to be aggressively managed. I'm hopeful that aggressive management is still forthcoming because it hasn't happened so far. And we'll just have to stay in close communication with our board and our residents to try to find solutions that can work, not just this year, but long term. So the big thing to take away from what Director Gibson said is to try to balance our really important services versus expenses that have become crises due to financial issues that we have to find answers for. So you just have to know I've been looking at it all year since last October, and I'm hopeful that we're going to get some participation from staff and our other board members to find some answers that can really work. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and show where we are with the current status as of May 31st. These statements do run a month behind simply because of the way our accounting system works. It's difficult to generate timely statements so relatively early in the month. But I did check before each board meeting and find out if there's any surprises that need to be shared since this report was prepared, and at this point I've heard none. So on this current slide, which is on page 1, agenda item 13, page 1 of 9, if you have the board information in the packet, this basically shows the overview of our revenue and expenses from all sources. And we're on target with budget. To allay a few concerns that were mentioned about revenues, I do watch that carefully. We talked about it at our supplemental meeting with the finance department, and everything is in very good shape right now as far as projected income. We're not seeing any concerns of things we don't expect to see collected. There are some fees that are lower, but not dramatically, at least for third. So far so good, but definitely another great point by Director Gibson that we need to watch. So assessment revenue, I feel comfortable, was fairly represented. Non-assessment revenue doing better than anticipated thanks to our investment task force reallocating those funds. That's most of that non-assessment revenue. Total revenue, you can see, is about $15 million up through May 31st. Our expenses were $11,600,000 for a net surplus right now, or revenue over expenses of $3.45 million. I'll put that in context throughout the rest of the slides as we do every other month. So let's jump to slide 2. And on this slide, you can see we break out information about operations, which is our non-reserve funds. And what we tried to do as a board, working closely with staff, was get defensive, cut as many non-essential services as we could, maintain the level of services needed, but try to conserve cash for God knows what might be coming, and for some things we knew were coming and that are now here, insurance most notably. At least as we look towards next year, we're just trying to make sure we've got funds that are conserved and that will make sure we manage our finances the most responsible way possible. So looking at the bottom line on this slide, you can see we have an operating surplus May 31st of $770,000, which is in line with what we expected to see going through each month. And we expect that to continue to grow for as long as we have to cut back due to COVID. And we'll have to revisit it when things change and staff can be brought on furlough and services will be ramped up. But so far, so good on our defensive program. Moving to slide 3, you can see, I think this is quite meaningful to most people. I mean, you got to see where we are versus where we projected this time of year. The budget was projected to have a $1 million deficit as of May 31st. That's not exactly how our budget works, but just use it for reference. We're currently at an actual, if you look down that first column, our actual is a net surplus of $3.4 million. So we are, as we said, making sure that money is not being spent without really important purposes attached to it right now. And our variance, meaning we are currently $4.5 million over our projected budget. For those thinking that money is going to be available by year end to just apply to next year, again, if you were with us all last year, you know that most of our expenses are tied up at the end of the year. So we will have some excess funds because of our defensive measures, but you can't just assume it's going to keep growing all year long. There will be some things that happen towards year end, especially if COVID backs off, that will eat into this significant surplus variance we have right now. But it's better to have it, be ready, than to not have it and just, not manage the funds extremely carefully. But so far, very, very good, right where we expected to be on managing the budget through this period. Moving to the next slide, you can see where most of the funds come from that create this variance. Not going to run through every line item here. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to ask or write us about them. But outside services are most of our, reserve projects and larger maintenance and repair projects. We have almost $3 million of, that we haven't used that we had in our budget so far. And that number should remain fairly steady or growing slightly before it starts to get eaten into later in the year. Moving down, you'll see that our biggest problem child right now is insurance. And that is in a deficit that's growing every month because of the way we manage the budget. And that was expected, and we've certainly offset that for this year. So that's not going to create problems for us budget-wise for the remainder of the year. But we have received notice that we're facing a substantial increase, and that is where the focus of my attention has been for the last 8 to 10 months. I believe several have now joined the party, so I'm looking forward to some aggressive communications about how we're going to manage this for 2021. And please hear me clearly, anyone listening, and beyond. It doesn't just solve the problem to solve the problem for a year. I made that comment last year when they told us they solved the problem and it didn't get handled. So I have no problem sharing to the public that we're looking for a longer-term solution than 12 months. And I would like to hold everyone and anyone accountable to find that solution. So those are the real red flags, is insurance. We have other charges that are in excess. We're looking at them all. There's nothing that is of concern to us in the Finance Committee, our Finance Department, and we'll keep an eye on them. They're certainly not significant relative to the surplus we've achieved. Moving on to slide 5. Basically, you can look at a breakdown of non-assessment revenues. Talk about it every month. It's very much in line with prior months. Once again, very positive results in our investment income. That's 17% of our non-assessment revenues. Significant unrealized gain. That's simply because of the way the investments got changed. But the takeaway is, while all this nightmare is going on in the stock market, good and bad, went way down, it's come back quite a bit. We've, stayed afloat and consistently made money out under our expectations throughout the year. I think that's a good decision for the risk tolerance of our community. You can take a look at the rest of the non-assessment revenues. Some, as I mentioned, like fees and charges, are a bit lower than we would have hoped. Again, operations hurt that because we can't do anything right now due to COVID, or at least very, very scaled back. But I don't expect that to dramatically hurt our finances through the rest of the year, and hopefully for next year we'll have those things back. On the next slide, slide 6, total expenses. You're looking at a breakdown where you can see the typical state. This is very much like prior months. Most of our expenses are employee and compensation related. The outside services, again, a lot have not been used so far, and we don't know how many will be used for the rest of the year, but that number tends to get a little larger as the year goes on. And then the rest, you can see we've got utilities, which, is a significant chunk of our expenses. The lighting project, hopefully, will help to bring that down slightly. Managing water, we're trying. It's staying fairly stable, even in the face of increases by the El Toro water. So we're watching that. We've got our committee. And then you can look through the rest, which don't amount to a high percentage of our total expenses. They're in line. We are watching legal fees. Some things have been beyond our control. We've had to spend them, and they've been appropriate in my estimation. I believe our board agrees with that. Others, we're definitely going to try to police, especially moving into 2021. Slide 7, kind of a bottom line summary of the financial report, which I think is better highlighted on the next slide, but I will go to the bottom here, current balances. This shows how we've got our money spread out. $18 million in our replacement fund account, which is our reserve projects and excess funds and reserves, $18 million. Disaster fund, we try to keep that close to $10 million. It's at $9 million currently. unappropriated expenditures, call it the rainy day fund for lack of a better term, almost $4 million. Garden Villa Fund is at $78,000, which is appropriate for that budget. And the total is about $31.5 million in funds available in our various appropriations that you see on this slide. Looking on the next slide, you can see it visually, and I think it shows a lot better in terms of where we are. This is our funds available with reserves and other, funds that we're using for various purposes, well above our 5-year average, the highest amount in the last 5 years. That will not last, is my honest opinion, but we're going to do the best we can to maintain our 5-year average and grow over time. But we need it, and we need to have it conservative right now, and that's exactly the game plan that we designated early on in the year, solidified once COVID hit, and it is being executed very well by our staff and our execution of operations so far. So you can see the breakdown, the most significant replacement funds, and then it's color-coded. You can see how each other fund is a piece of our overall funds available for various uses. So, summarize, we are in as good a financial position as we can hope to be. We're facing an insurance crisis. I don't use that word loosely. It's an insurance crisis. I would like our community to understand that and respond to that, and be, our board to communicate about it and make sure we do everything we can to resolve this crisis. And that will really put us in a much stronger financial position moving forward. Until that's resolved, I'm not sleeping comfortably, and therefore I'll share that in my reports. If we go to the next slide, which is slide 9, the resale history, you can see what would be expected. We were slightly lower than prior years going into May. May was significantly lower. I'm happy to report that incidentally or anecdotally, it does seem like sales are holding steady or even picking up a little bit moving into June. Hopefully that will return. People are active in the real estate market right now. We've had to kind of cut back things for our real estate brokers and agents because of COVID, but people are still interested in still buying. We'll see where that winds up as the year goes on. I don't see it as a crisis other than some fee revenue we hope to generate. Maybe we'll see that come in later in the year. I will stop there and turn it back over to President Parsons, who usually has our information on leases to kind of wrap up the report. But I will finish by saying that we have the Finance Committee meeting as a monthly meeting, and next month will be the first Tuesday, I guess August 4th at 1:30, which I expect to be a virtual meeting. That concludes my portion of the report.
Okay, thank you, John. Leasing report stands at 27.9% leasing. I'll go back to Doug Gibson, who has a question for you, John. Doug, would you mention your question, please?
Earlier this year, we put the project log through review, and we pulled back almost $2 million. How does that stand with all the figures that you're running right now, John, if you can?
Everything I'm seeing is exactly in line. We've got Ernesto and the M&C committee coordinating on the priority of each project. It was a list that was designated when the $2 million was pushed aside to be defensively reserved. And Ernesto, I see, is on, so he may have a comment, but everything I'm seeing is he's doing exactly what we've advised him to do. So far, so good on that. Any exception to that, Ernesto, if you can comment?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Sure.
Or Mr. President, I'm sorry. John is absolutely correct. The board declared $1,850,770 from the various programs. That, of course, will not affect those programs significantly, since most of them have been on hold for the past 4 months. We are beginning to resume that work in August. But relative to the funds, they're not being used, and they will not be used for the programs this year. They will be reallocated, as John said. So unless you have specific questions relative to that, that's all I wanted to provide for you.
Okay, Robert?
Just to add to that, since we just put the fumigation project on hold for this year, the balance in the fumigation project was $346,748. So we should be moving the bulk of that also over into that savings program.
If I may, that's correct, Mr. President. Robert, you are correct. What we'd like to do, obviously, is add this projects that are being deferred this year to the list of the projects that or the buildings that we're going to be doing in 2021. So we will need that funding for the fumigation program for 2021. The figures that we put in your preliminary budget this year do not reflect that. So we will amend those figures, and you'll see those with the future versions of your budget.
Okay. Any other comments for John? Okay, moving on to the report of architectural controls and standards. I'm the chair of that, and as you have seen, we've already talked about the alternate heat source policy for alterations, and we brought that forward. That's in the package. If you want to read the staff summary sheet, that'd be great. And we are further defining standards and how they apply to use of common area. So that's in the mix right now, and we're working with our legal counsel on that. Future agenda items, something that has probably been long overdue. We're discussing stucco wall hangings and anchors, how we can come up with something that might be acceptable for that. Concrete slabs for exterior electrical panels, which right now doesn't seem possible, but we still are keeping that on to keep an eye on it. Another item are new building materials and information on things like that, all the way from hardwood floors to new things to be used outside, new things to be done on roofs, things like that. So we're keeping our eye on anything new that's coming down the market. The next meeting of our committee is on July 27th, 9:30 a.m., and it is a virtual meeting. Before we go on any further, I'd like to ask Jeffrey Siobhan to introduce our new Director of Alterations.
Good morning. It is my pleasure to introduce Robbie Don Cost, who is our new manager of alterations. And I'm going to actually ask Ernesto to give a little detail into Robbie's background.
Mr. President, if I may?
Yes, go ahead, Ernesto. Jeff's out of pocket here.
We're very, very excited to have Robbie on board as part of our team. Robbie comes to us with over 25 years of construction-related experience. He's been in the industry in not only residential work, but he's done quite a bit of commercial work as well. Robbie is a licensed architect with the state of California, so that raises the bar for our credibility in that division and the professionality with what we will be providing to the residents, not only the residents, but contractors and realtors as well. So we're very, very excited. Robbie has already jumped head on all of the issues in manor alterations and resale inspections. We still have a couple of vacancies in there, and Robbie is working hard and fast with HR to get those vacancies filled. So all in all, we're moving in the right direction, and we're very excited to have Robbie on board.
Okay, Robbie, if you're on and able, can we see your picture? If possible?
He wrote in the chat box, David.
Oh, okay. Seems that his video is not working. Sorry. Okay, well, we still want to welcome you, Robbie, and I look forward to working with you in the future. Thanks very much. Okay, on to the Report of Communications Committee. Director McCary.
Okay, sorry about that. The Communications Committee meeting, let's see, the last meeting was June 11th. We did not have a meeting for this month. The meeting was canceled. Next meeting is scheduled for, I lost my place here. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading from the wrong one. Okay, the Communications Committee. That meeting last met October 9th. We did have a meeting scheduled for July, but because of conflicting schedule, that meeting was canceled. And we don't have another meeting scheduled as of yet.
Okay.
Thank you.
On to report of maintenance construction, Director Muchnick.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to take a few minutes to highlight a number of programs, some of which have been suspended because of COVID-19, some of which have been reduced because of furloughed employees, and some which are able to continue as originally scheduled. Building numbers. All new address signs originally scheduled to be installed this year will be delayed until 2021. In terms of building structures, this program is funded to repair or replace building structural components that are not performing as designed. This funding also includes roofing repairs related to dry rot. This program, because of the COVID-19 issue, has been reduced. However, a few buildings are still listed for repair this year. Electrical systems. Most of the work associated with this line item was suspended due to COVID-19. Only emergency repairs are allowed to take place at this point in time. Energy projects. The funding for energy projects was suspended for 2020. Funding for these projects will be included, however, in the 2021 budget. Garden Villa lobbies. 2 of the 9 planned renovations have been completed. Work should resume by the middle of August on this project. It takes approximately 2 weeks to complete each lobby renovation, so with a little luck, we should be able to renovate the remaining 7 lobbies for this year. Garden Villa mailrooms. These renovations have been on hold since March 19th, again because of COVID-19. We anticipate restarting this project in September with plan of renovating the last 4 mailrooms. Garden Villa rec room, heat pump and water heaters. 7 water heaters and 2 heat pumps were replaced in the Garden Villa rec rooms as planned for this year. Gutters. The gutter replacement and gutter repair programs have been on hold due to COVID-19. There are currently 61 open tickets for gutter repairs in the system. Gutter replacements will coincide with the paint program when staff return during the middle of August. Mailboxes. This program is also on hold. 4 clusters of mailboxes have been replaced this year, and when the program resumes, it is expected that it will take about 10 weeks to complete the rest of the mailboxes replacements. Paint program and prior to paint. Good news is that while the staff were furloughed for a period of time, we expect to have them back the middle of August, and they will resume the paint project where they left off, and we will complete as many buildings as possible this year, and obviously will be, by necessity, we'll push some back into next year. Roofs. This has been on hold for 3 months. However, the project restarted June 8th. Shepherd's Crook fencing. This is the replacement of the barbed wire around the outside of the village. All 1,454 linear feet of Shepherd's Crook fencing has been completed this year. We anticipate that next year we're only going to do approximately 300 linear feet in an attempt to spread out the cost for this project over a longer period of time. And that brings you up to date on many of the projects that are going on in the village. Our next meeting is scheduled for September 7th at 1:30, and it will be a virtual meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Report of Parking and Golf Cart Task Force. We have not had a meeting since January 6th because of COVID-19. The money that we had slated for that, we have put into reserves for anticipated expenditures at the end of the year. It doesn't mean that we've canceled this program, but right now there's nothing that we can really move forward on. So stand by for news on that. Okay, Garden Villa Rec Room Subcommittee, Director Jarrett. You're muted.
We haven't had a meeting since February due to the COVID, and we probably may not have one till maybe November. They haven't scheduled it yet, simply because the rec rooms are not in use. So there's no work being done into them, and they're not being used. However, I did this morning send a message to Stuart Hack, the president of the Garden Growers Association, and I CC'd Robert Mishnick in the seat chair and asked if requested Stuart Hack to ask the captain to go and to all the rec rooms in their building and run the water for 5 minutes or so, then all the faucets and flush the toilets and check the refrigerator, because these rooms have been closed down for several months. So we need to keep them going. And we don't want to have open them up and then have a lot of maintenance issues. So no meeting is scheduled at this time, but we'll probably have one before the end of the year. Thank you.
Okay. Still, Director Jarrett, the Report Landscape Committee.
Okay. Landscaping, the fruits of the aeration project are showing. I can just look right out now and see my green belt. It's just beautiful. But Kurt tells us that in coming this fall, when they fertilize, it's going to make a huge difference. And by next spring, the grounds are really, really going to be nice. So enjoy them. We've had a lot of reports of rats and mice, especially. The mice population is exploding in Gate 11. So I sent a little blurb to Doug Gibson and asked him if he would send that around to people in Gate 11. He's got a really nice email distribution list to let them know what they can do. But they've got to not plant any vegetables, and they've got to pick up the fruit that, when it falls onto the ground. And so, they really got to pay attention to the fruit and discard it when they need to. More troops are going to be added to the budget and the contract next year. That's a lot of complaints we've been getting about troops, because one of the reasons is that rain that we had earlier in the year, it really did a job. And you can cut those slopes every year, and it's still going to need it. So it's amazing. And we have to be careful, we're working with the fire authority. Kurt meets the fire authority quite often for the slope work. One of the things I want to mention is that I worked a little bit with Kurt last week on the landscape budget, and he's going to bring that to our landscape committee meeting on August the 6th at 9:30 a.m., and we're going to go over the landscape budget. They'll talk to us about that. So with that, I don't have anything more to add.
Okay, thank you. On to Water Subcommittee, Director Karimi. Reza? If you have connection. Okay, don't know if anything has taken place in this area other than we're watching.
It's Steve.
Oh,
sorry, the connection, we have connection problem. Our subcommittee hasn't ever scheduled a meeting yet, and it's probably going to be the same as probably till COVID-19 is over. All I'm going to tell about El Toro Water is to start a campaign of the information on all the regular channels in the area, discussing the water safety, that they're COVID-19 free. There are two items that they're concerned about is how people understand that water is safe. The second item that they're concerned about is flushing things down the toilet and causing a lot of problem for them. So people in our village need to really be careful about what they're flushing down the toilet, because they end up in the waste system and causing a lot of clogging and problem for them. And those are costs for them. Pretty much they're going to come back to everybody. The safety of water is pretty good for COVID-19. I asked them about 2-3 months ago about it, and they were, confident that everything is good. Now they starting that campaign and letting everyone know that the safety of water is guaranteed now by them. So just be, the other thing, I haven't seen the water report. I don't know how we're doing with the water report, water usage. As a word of caution, please continue conserving water. I know everyone's home, washing hands all the time. So just be careful with the water usage because, as I said, that's very important commodity and we don't want to waste it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. On to Resident Policy and Compliance Committee, Director Jarrett.
All right. Before I go on and give the report, I want to add just a few little things to the smoking resolution, non-smoking resolution. There's a lot to that, and because people didn't ask questions today, I think if we'd had an audience, we'd had a lot of questions. So I want to make sure that I'll publish an article in the next brief and give a lot of the particulars back because a lot of work went on into that. And Sandra Gottlieb for legal, she really helped us a lot on that. But there's a lot of rules, and I hope that some buildings are interested. So if any buildings out there, people think their buildings might be interested in having a non-smoking building, please send a letter to me at the office in care of me, and they'll get it to me. I want to mention the barbecue rules. We're still working on the barbecue rules, and this next meeting, we're going to have a speaker there. Actually, she's an education part of Orange County Fire Authority. So it's going to be really good because
Please enter your access code followed by the pound or to enable audio controls. Please
got really busy. So our next meeting is going to be July the 29th at 9:30 a.m. It'll be a virtual meeting. Thank you.
Okay, Energy Research Group, Director Mushnick.
Nothing to report at this time. Thank you.
Okay. On the GRF committee highlights, CAC, Director McCary.
The Community Activities Committee did have a meeting on June 11th. That was a virtual meeting. At that meeting, there was a representative that gave us some information regarding outdoor gym equipment. And since that time, the committee has taken a field trip to a local park in Mission Viejo that has some outdoor exercise equipment. In addition to that, we've also looked at some areas within the village here that are potential areas that we could possibly store some outdoor gym equipment. There is a small subcommittee that has been formed to look at potential areas where we might look at placing some outdoor gym equipment, and more information to follow on that. The next actual meeting, which will be virtual, is scheduled for August 13th at 1:30 p.m. And again, it's virtual. Thank you.
Thank you. Equestrian Center Ad Hoc Committee, Director Bada.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our meeting was held on July 15th, 2020. Unfortunately, I was only able to attend part of the meeting, but from all that, I learned that we are working on increasing horse boarding so that it will improve the revenue of this department. We are also working with waste management to decrease our expenses regarding the manure removal. Also considering to use the manure in our landscape division so that it would decrease our expense and improve the quality of the manure. So we are working with landscape department on that. It also depends on the new county permit that we might need for that. And also, I was made to understand that landscape department, the equestrian center is looking for a new supervisor, and they're working with HR to get a new one on board. Our next committee meeting is August 25th at 9:30 a.m. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. GRF Finance Committee, Director Pearlstone.
So the Finance Committee met on June 29th, but they do not currently have a treasurer, so the meeting was slightly disjointed. We got access to the financial statements, and things are operating according to the strategy that was set up during since March of COVID. So there's been some surpluses that are being accumulated, and I feel those were in line with what the expectations were. Some discussion about some increased costs in certain activities, example being the golf course being fully operational but not being fully utilized. So, we asked to look into some things like that to see what the impact is of, operations might be. But overall, reasonable. The GRF board had a good vision this year to control costs, and up to, that meeting had done so. The next meeting is August 19th. And that meeting, I think, will be important because they're going to review the charter for the Finance Committee. And there's been some conflicting interpretations of what the role of the Finance Committee at GRF is. And I know I speak for other board members and a lot of the community that, GRF would like to, have good transparency and a lot of fiscal responsibility at GRF. And some interpretations where the GRF Finance Committee aren't allowed to comment on the propriety or the priority of projects, but simply indicated the finances are available to fund them. And that is certainly not clearly stated in the charter. So I know there's some that still want to make it clearer that that's the case, and others that want to get much more analytical and make sure finance can have a say in, fiscal responsibility. So if interested, you should be attending that meeting and commenting. And that is August 19th at 1:30.
Thank you. GRF Finance Committee, Director Jarrett. You're muted.
Which committee me? I thought you said finance. I'm on the
GRF Landscape Committee.
No, thank you. We haven't had a meeting since June. Our next meeting is going to be August. Wait a minute. Did I say June?
No.
We had a meeting in February. It's been so long. And the next meeting is going to be August 12th at 1:30 p.m. Thank you.
Okay. On to GRF Maintenance Construction Committee, Director Bada.
We haven't had a GRF MNC meeting for the last period. The next meeting will be August 12th at 9:30.
Okay. PAC Renovation Ad Hoc Committee, Director Pearlstone, and if you also want to talk about Clubhouse 1 Committee.
Yeah, I'll bundle them together. We really haven't had any further discussions on Clubhouse 1 as a separate meeting, but the PAC committee did meet. John Frankel was also there. If he wants to chime in after I'm done, he should feel free to do so. The meeting was productive in the sense that there was a decision to not move forward with phase 1 at the $5.5 million level. So the group got together and said, okay, now that we've kind of got a clean slate, what should we do? And a very common sense approach has been put forth to get independent consultants to take a look at what the least costly approach to making the PAC operational is until we can find a longer-term strategy that makes sense to deal with major revisions to the PAC, hopefully in the context of an overall strategic plan. But in any event, just looking at functionality more than just saying, let's throw this out there and then see where we go from there. So I thought it was very positive, the outcome of that meeting. There's a follow-up that will be happening. I want to say it might even be at the end of this month. Maybe, John, you have that date. If not, it's early August to take this further. So that is headed in a positive direction in the context of managing those funds moving forward. John, anything else?
My comment is that basically the bulk of the work has been tossed into the lap of the M&C committee for GRF, and they're going to be handling it on a project basis.
Okay. All righty, on to media and communications. Director McCary.
The committee last met June 15th, and it was a virtual meeting. The July meeting has been canceled. The next scheduled meeting is August 17th at 1:30 p.m., and that meeting is virtual. Thank you.
Okay. Mobility and Vehicles Committee, Director Frankel.
We haven't had a meeting since February due to COVID, and the next meeting will be August 5th.
Okay. That's at 1:30 virtual meeting, probably?
Yes.
Okay. Security and Community Access Committee, Director Muchnick.
We also have not had a meeting since February. Our next meeting is scheduled for August 24th. I can tell you, though, however, that there has been a considerable amount of discussion between myself and Chief Rojas regarding abandoned vehicles in 3rd. And there have been 12 abandoned vehicles identified. Actions now have been taken on all those vehicles, and we should see some real progress. A couple have already been towed. A couple of people are already dealing with compliance issues. They'll come before, I think 4 of them will now come before the Compliance Committee for review. So progress is being made on addressing those issues. Thank you.
Great. Disaster Preparedness Task Force, Director Engdahl.
My microphone turned on here. No, we have not had a meeting since January. As far as I know, the next meeting is still scheduled for next Tuesday, July 28th at 9:30.
Okay. Report of Laguna Woods Village traffic hearings, Director Frankel.
Robert was a participant in that last meeting, so Director Melchnick may have a comment.
Thank you, Director Frankel. Hearings were held on July 17th. 9 cases were scheduled for hearings. Of the 9 cases, 8 manor owners did appear. All 9, though, however, were found guilty. 7 were fined, and 2 had their fines suspended. Last month, in addition to those cases that were scheduled for hearing, there were approximately 249 additional offenses where the offender did not request a hearing and submitted a guilty plea. The next schedule for the Laguna Woods traffic hearing is August 19th at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Okay. On to future agenda items, there we have 3 Parkland Report, Resident Suggestion Program, and Alterations Review. I'd like to keep those on there. Are there any additions that anybody would like to add? Okay, hearing none, we'll go into Director's comments. Director McCary? No comments? Okay. Director Wayne? You're muted. There you go. Any comment? Okay. Director Frankel?
I have no comment. Thank you.
Okay. Director Muchnick?
I've talked enough today. Thank you.
Director Bada?
Norman, thank you.
Okay. Director Gibson?
Just like to mention that one of my neighbors got a water heater installed and is extremely pleased. He had gotten 3 quotes. The quality that was put in was wonderful. He is one happy camper with a new water heater.
Good, good. Director Jarrett.
All right. I just got some good news from communications. I just mentioned a few moments ago we wanted to give publicity and degrees to the non-smoking resolution. Well, because Director Muchnick's article is getting mixed because he wrote on fumigation, so I have to fill that hole, and I have to do it by in the morning. So this is good. I mean, I'm glad I have all the information. Anyway, good meeting. Thank you.
Okay, Director Engdahl.
No comments, thank you.
Okay, let's see, Director Karimi.
No comment, Mr. President.
Okay, Director Pearlstone.
No comment.
Okay, CEO Jeff Parker. Any
I
comments?
have nothing.
Okay, Siobhan, any closing comments?
No, thank you.
Okay, we have our legal folks here. Sandra, do you have any closing comments at all?
I'm sorry, could you say?
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, it's been a good meeting today, and we ask that all of you take care health-wise. Please wear your mask. Please don't get into large groups. Watch where you go. In Orange County, we're still having a lot of cases reported. So we ask you to do your due diligence and protect yourself, and not only you, but those around you. So we appreciate everybody complying with what's going on. We know for some people it's really an inconvenient thing, or it could even be a health issue, but we're working with folks on that. So be sure that you take every precaution that you can, and we thank you for being part of this meeting today. Okay, we'll take a 10-minute break, and we will recess this part of our meeting and go into closed session. Thank you very much.